Well, hello, ladies, and welcome to this week's episode. This week, I've got something special for you. A while ago, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a trader on the U.S. stock market, and she is one extraordinary woman. I hope you'll glean as much as I did from our conversation. She is a very, very interesting lady, and I present Anka Metcalf to you right now. Let's roll. So tell us your story. How did you get here?
Okay, so I have a bachelor's degree in journalism.
Mhm.
And after I graduated, I joined to work in the banking industry, and I loved it. Therefore, I had multiple courses. I attended multiple courses, and I pursued a master's degree in economics, and which helped my financial career tremendously. It was quite a shift you kind of, through your life, and I think like when you're very young, you really don't know, what you want. You think you want something, but, when you kind of like sense, and have a feeling of, some other things that you're exposed to in life, you kind of like think like, you know what, I think I would like that better than what I'm doing right now. And don't be afraid to make changes, because life is about change. Life is about challenge. And I think that this is the most beautiful gift, that life gives you, because it throws you in a different direction and it shapes you as an individual. I've worked in the banking industry for about 10 years. I had a quick shift in the hotel industry where I worked for about 3 years. So I had a quick break from the financial industry. And then I moved here into to the United States.
Well, I'll stop you there. Well, now tell everyone where you're from, and you have that, and then continue.
Okay, perfect. So I am from Bucharest, Romania, and that's where I wouldn't say that I grew up entirely there because my parents were diplomats at the UN, and I spent my childhood in Manhattan, in New York. Then I went to Romania, finished high school, in college and everything, started working in the financial industry. And then I came back here, and guess what? My first job here was for a huge financial investment company.
I know that you grew up, or that you grew up in Manhattan.
Yes, I grew up there. Yeah, I grew up there, and it was a very exciting time. I loved every second of it. Being a child was a little bit challenging, because you make friends in a different continent, and then you are going back home, but you really don't know what home is, because you consider both places home. You consider the United States home, then you consider Europe home. You really don't know. You get very confused where home is. And
a man without a country is that.
Exactly. But I do feel at home here, and I love it here. And I started working for this financial company in Detroit. I love what they were doing. They were running a hedge fund, amongst other things that they were doing financial planning and et cetera, with a big company. I realized very quickly that I really love what they were doing, and they were trading.
Right.
So I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. So that's when I wanted to get myself into trading. I wanted to get myself and trade my own money. And it's not for, the fact that I literally wanted to stay home and work. It was the thing that I loved what to do. Right. And so the markets have always attracted me. And even way, way before, when I was in the banking industry, that is my first exposure to the dealing desk. We were doing Forex, and we were doing a lot of different types of transaction. And this is what exposed me to trading. So I had a lot of friends that were trading at the time. So I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I took the leap. I started to specialize, and I took some more trading courses here to get familiarized with U.S. markets, to get familiarized to day trading, to get familiarized to swing trading, etc. And I am where I am today. It was a constant learning approach. And like I said, you know, I'm still learning. I learned about options just this in December. And it's still something in process. So it's not that you've learned it and you're done. It's a challenge.
And I think for those of the viewers who aren't aware of how you trade electronically from your desk, and you literally go into the market.
Yes.
And you buy and sell from your home.
From my home, absolutely. So I have a setup desk.
Yeah.
I have about 6 monitors here. And you guys can only see one that is at the this is actually my scanning monitor, so I only have a scanner on that monitor. I trade from home. The market runs from 9:30 till 4 o'clock. The futures market is the market that is open close to 24 hours a day. Which I love because you get a good handle on the market. You don't have any surprises. You don't have any gap ups or gap downs. It's a continuous market. So you have full control over it, and that's what I love.
Tell us, what was your greatest success?
I think part of the biggest success is to be able to succeed in a world that is dominated by men.
Yay!
And I think this was the biggest success. I'm very well respected. I participate to a lot of webinars, to a lot of trading shows, etc. And the fact that there are more and more women that are joining this trading careers is phenomenal because, and one other thing, I think women traders are so much better than men because, okay, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear la 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 la. Okay. We don't have to deal with the egos, and we don't have to deal with, because the men have their own drama when it comes to the ego, and we don't have that. Okay. So in our book, if it's a losing trade, I don't really hold on to it, and say, yeah, but you know what? I'm right because I feel it's right. No, you know that you need to cut that trade. You're going to cut that trade and you're done. You're like a surgeon, okay, where they are sort of like lawyers. They want to try to save that stock or save that, index or whatever, the commodity or whatever they're trading. But I think that, as women, we take, kind of like better decisions when it comes to trading.
Right, and so many different things, but we won't go down that road. And this part of our conversation is where it gets very interesting, and it refers back to a video I did recently on habits. Anka talks about how important it is in business for her, as her example, on how to have rituals, which essentially rituals are habits. And it's very, very fascinating seeing it through the eyes of a businesswoman and how she has incorporated rituals into her daily existence, her daily business. But I think it's very, very important to understand that rituals can be incorporated, and habits can be incorporated into all aspects of our life. They just add more value. So let's continue with this conversation.
You have to have a ritual. So what I do is I usually wake up at around 6:45 to 7 o'clock. And I go for a walk, and that is usually when you hear everybody with their, you see everybody with their earbuds, listening into music. I sometimes hear, and tune into CNBC, to hear what the latest news is and what's going on and what's in store for the market. What are the international markets doing? Or I just like to have that quiet time. I go for a walk, 30 minutes to 40 minutes, go to the beach and back. So I feel privileged that I could go to the beach, walk to the beach. This is so phenomenal for me, and I'm still getting used to being a Floridian, and I love it, absolutely love it. And after I get back, obviously you got to have some breakfast, and then I come to the computer, and I think it's very important to prioritize because a lot of people, not only traders, you get easily distracted with the social media. So my advice would be to people not to dive into social media because you get absorbed and you're going to waste the most precious time that you have in the morning when the brain is all fresh and when you have all the ideas and everything. I think that one of the most important things to do is literally to solve your problems. And I get into the back of my house, into the back of my office, and I usually do all the emailing. I answer to clients' questions. So I do all my back office work within that, let's say, hour. So I allocate an hour between 8 o'clock, usually between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, where I solve all these issues. And then from 9 o'clock, I start with my trading room.
So have you enjoyed this so far? I hope so. Please let me know in the comment box below. So before we continue, let me just go over all that we have learned from Anka, or things that I have picked up. Maybe you've picked up something else. Let me know also, because I'm very, very anxious to know what you think of this format and if you'd like me to do more. But let's just get going, Carolyn. Let me just take a sip and let me just review what she said. And Anka emphasizes that change is a good thing. And I think this is so important. But she refers to when we were youngsters, or when we were maybe in our early 20s or 30s. And yes, that's a natural thing, I believe. But change is so important as we become more wiser, as we mature, because we can get set in our ways and then we don't evolve. And I firmly believe that this evolution that I'm speaking about doesn't stop because of the date and the year that you were born, that we can continue to grow and to change no matter what age we are. Case in point, for example, moving. You might choose that you need a different location. You want to move. You want to experience a different neighborhood. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's very, very sad if we are influenced by outside influencers who say, no, you should just, everything's fine, just stay the way it is, the status quo. I really don't believe in that. And I am making changes in my life because, as you can see, I'm in a different place. I'm still in the same place, but I'm sitting in a different area because I'm making changes. And I feel that changes are really, really important for our growth, no matter what age. So next point is, Anka mentions how important it is to educate yourself. And she's proven that in what she does, because it's a continuous form of education that she has to put herself through in order to take advantage of what she's doing, take advantage in the nicest of way, but to stay abreast of what goes on in the U.S. stock market and stock markets throughout the world. So she has to constantly educate herself. And that, I believe, trickles down to you and me. We have to keep growing, because if we don't keep growing, if we don't keep feeding stuff into our minds, we get stagnant. And yuck, who wants to become boring and stagnant? I'll tell you a story about this friend that I had. She was quite a bit older than me, maybe 20, 25 years, and I'm sure she's no longer on the planet. But she always told me that in order for her to stay interesting, people wanting to know more about her and grow, well, she had to be interested. So you have to be interested, and then you become interesting, if that makes any sense. But at the time in my 30s, when she relayed this idea to me, it really made sense. So that's part of my growth. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Stay interested, educate yourself, because as you stay interested and you become and remain interesting. So you attract all those types of people, and like attracts like. Then Anka goes on to talk about rituals and how important it is to have rituals in your life. Just one second. And I take rituals as being habits. Rituals, habits, the same thing. And I think it's very, very important to have certain rituals, habits in your daily life, because it's something to look forward to, something to check off your list, although, lists are okay. But I think you can accomplish a lot. I have found that I have a ritual in the morning where I read all my head books, as I call them. I write my gratitude journal and all that. If I miss that more than 2 days, I just I don't feel, it's not that I don't feel good about myself, but I just feel like there's something missing. And so rituals and habits are really important, just like brushing your teeth or having a coffee at a certain time of the day in the morning, or um, watching a television program if you do that once a week. Whatever it is, I think rituals and habits are really important. Anka talks about that in business, but I also really believe it applies to our life as a whole. As I said previously, it's very important to me that you enjoy the content that I'm producing for you. And I would really, really, really love your feedback. If this is the direction you would like me to go, interviewing an extraordinary woman, bringing on this mindset stuff, because as you probably figured out, I love that stuff. And occasionally throwing in the lipstick that I wear and why I wear it and how, those sort of things. So please let me know in the comment box below. By the way, if you haven't picked up your copy of How to Live a Simple Life, the 9 questions and answers that I get all the time, I put the link below. So please, it's yours for the taking. It's sort of a workbook, and it'll get you thinking a wee bit differently. Until next week, I wish everyone a good day. Stay well, stay safe. Prayers for Ukraine. Toodles, everyone. Bye.